Here. In this video, I'm going to give you the quick rundown of how MSPs are using Halp to support their clients in Slack, right? And so there's two main scenarios here. The first is that they're using shared channels to support those clients, right? So on the left, I'm in here as Mike, who is the employee of the client, right? He's going to be, raising issues and submitting requests and doing all the things that users do. On the right, I'm in here as 11, our agent, who's going to be assigned tickets and resolving issues and, handling requests and doing all the things that agents do. So this is your profile for the purposes of this call, right? And so like I said, we're going to start off in this sort of shared channel use case. So I'm the client and I'm doing whatever I'm doing in Slack, and I realize I have an issue and I need to service it to the MSP. So I go to that shared channel and I say something, right? So this here is not a bona fide shared channel, but it works just the same. So what the user does is they come in and say, hey, I need help, right? Sad face. And there's a few different ways that we can handle this, right? So either I am that same shared channel as well, and I say, okay, well, this should be a ticket and I want to make sure it gets tracked and someone's accountable and it's eventually resolved, so I can make this emoji on this user's behalf. The other side of this is that the user knows what they have should be a ticket for the MSP, so they say, okay, well, I'm posting this message and I'm also going to use the emoji to launch a ticket, right? Now what happens here is that once we've marked the message with the emoji, we're going to launch a thread below the message with the requester ticket, right? And this is a required sort of functionality as part of the shared channels use case. And that's because the Halp bot must be invited to the channel, which causes us to launch the thread below the message with this quote unquote public ticket in the shared channel, right? Now, if this user, Mike, or anyone else at that client in that same shared channel needs to tell us more about 1632 here, this ticket, they'll come to the thread and they'll say, here's more info. Here's a snippet of code or a screenshot, or, I'm using this application. Anything they include in the thread of the ticket here is going to land on this ticket in your Slack workspace for your team to see and respond to, right? When you guys respond on your side of this ticket, this is where he'll see your replies come in. So it's all going to be threaded. And so there's some things about the shared channels use case that I should point out. And the first I already mentioned, which is that this is a fully public ticket to anyone else in the shared channel. And that's required as part of the configuration of shared channels, right? And that can be useful in that it should cut down on duplicates, because other people in that shared channel can say, hey, Mike already reported this issue, so I don't need to send another email to the MSP about it. It can also let users self-solve. So maybe another person's like, hey, Mike, I actually just dealt with this the other day, and these are the steps that I got from our MSP, so go ahead and try this and close the ticket if that works, right? But it is a limitation of the shared channels use case, right? That it has to be fully public to everyone there. And that's where the second scenario comes in, right? So the second scenario that we use for MSPs is, instead of the connection happening through a shared channel, we're going to create another installation in the client's Slack workspace, which gives them a private way to raise tickets, right? And so their child workspace, the client workspace, is going to be connected to our Halp parent workspace where we're triaging requests, right? So now I'm going to flip over into a totally separate workspace as a different user, right? And again, I'm doing whatever I'm doing, and I realize I have something that I need to ask the MSP about, and it's not the kind of thing that I would go to a shared channel about, right? Like it's benefits or payroll or whatever it is that is sensitive information, and I don't necessarily want to bring it up in a shared channel with all my other coworkers. And so what they'll do is they'll go right to the Halp app, which this MSP would generally rename to like MSP ticket bot or something, right? So the workflow is the user realizes they have a ticket, they go right to the ticket bot app, and they click create a ticket, right? And this is where we're going to prompt them to fill out a form. I've set up all of these forms in Halp and also the fields on these forms. We can set up triggers as part of the forms or the fields that are going to send a certain canned message to this user, or send it to a certain channel in our workspace, or assign a priority, right, if they're a super high-touch client or something. And so that's why I think this is part of the best case scenario, is we're getting as much information as we can from them at the start. So I'll come and I'll say, okay, well, no, this is a general request, and I'll say like the VPN isn't working, sad face, right? And I don't know what type of request this is, but I know I'm in San Francisco and this is a normal request priority and it's not due until next Monday, right? So I'll click create. What this user is going to get here now is a DM from the MSP ticket bot, right, with their private ticket. So now it's just this requester and the agents at the MSP that are going to see this request. It stays private to just this user, right? And then I also have a trigger in Halp that says, if ticket is made in the workspace for client A here, then go to that specific triage channel in Slack where all of those clients' tickets go, right? So that's how we would do a bit of that bucketing and categorization. So that's the really quick rundown of how MSPs are using Halp. If anything sticks out here, shoot us an email and we'll get right back to you.